Hey guys, tonight we're slipping back into the cozy folds of history, delving into a world where medieval peasants braved the coldest nights with more than just thick blankets and hopeful dreams. Picture cozy, oddly comforting scenes, scratchy wool brushing against your skin, and the gentle, predictable crow of a rooster. You probably won't survive this if you're already feeling sleepy. Before you get too comfy, feel free to tap like or subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying the calm around here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is over there. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, go ahead and lower the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background. And let's drift gently into tonight's story together. You wake up slowly, blinking in the dim, muted light, filtering through a small window of a medieval peasant's hut. The straw beneath your head crackles with every slight movement, a symphony of rustic charm that feels both alarmingly primitive and surprisingly cozy. Outside, the rooster's call is your medieval alarm clock. No snooze button in sight, not unless you have an exceptionally patient chicken. And the cold seeps in through the cracks like the world's laziest and least welcome guest. It's brisk, but in a way that clears your mind and makes you grateful for every bit of warmth you can gather. Wool blankets, a bit scratchy, but your best companion on such crisp mornings. No fuzzy socks here, just trusty layers you pull tighter for a little extra comfort. And the fireplace, though little more than warm embers now, suggests a comforting glow, hinting at the stories it silently recorded the night before, crackling like a friend endlessly delivering punchlines to unheard jokes. Imagine huddling there, chatting with neighbors, storytelling by firelight, the medieval precursor to our late-night talk shows, but with much more straw involved. Historians still argue whether the morning chills helped or hindered the agricultural productivity of these early risers. Was the motivation of frostbitten toes enough to speed up the morning routines, or did it lead to slower starts and delayed sowing seasons? It's a debate left unresolved, much like how we can't decide if the glaring sun, first thing in the morning, is friend or foe. Speaking of farm work, did you know medieval peasants operated under a calendar of saints' days and moon phases? It's a little like setting all your phone alarms based on how many episodes you watched last night, both strategic and baffling. This lunar guide structured their planting, harvesting, and every bit in between, imagining life without Google calendars and setting reminders with scratches on parchment. Fascinating or terrifying? You decide. As you pull yourself into the day, let's chuckle at the food options that await. Typically simple, stews of whatever you caught, grew, or found lying around. Breakfast offers its own medieval charm. Porridge or pottage that sticks to your bones, with the earthiness so satisfying, it's like a warm hug for your belly. Forget five-star dining. This is survival. It may make you wonder, did they crave midnight snacks like we do after a late-night story binge? Honestly, there's something so marvelously grounding about all this. The simplicity of the tasks, the clarity of needs, reminds you of deleting social apps to focus, only to reinstall them an hour later, convinced you simply need to control your distractions better. Pacing life with the rhythms of the sun, there were no scrolling marathons into the wee hours. No blue light threading its way into your dreams. Village life was a tapestry of routine, weaving a steadiness that's rather poetic, even if a bit itchy, especially when the cold kissed their noses good morning. It makes you muse over the comforting repetitiveness of their days, a real-life version of choosing dark mode because it just feels emotionally accurate. And thus, you step gingerly into another day with the medieval equivalent of a cozy jumper pulled tight. You contemplate the little things that made life tick, the tactile beauty in common tasks, the earthy aroma of your surroundings, and maybe, just maybe, the whispering stories of long nights passed around the hearth. So there you are, a part of this anachronistic tapestry, feeling that blend of history and softness envelop you like the comforting presence of an old friend sharing tales in candlelit warmth. It's all a delicate invitation to let go of today's chaos in favor of something eternally simple and wonderfully warm. You see, as they survived those cold nights, medieval peasants unwittingly cultivated a cozy ritual of unwinding that we're only too happy to rediscover now. Let's wander further, shall we? There's a world of dusky dreams and time-worn tales ahead, softly calling your name, waiting just beyond the glow of our story's unfolding evening fire. You walk out into the world beyond your hut, where the crisp air greets you like a chilly embrace. The great manor looms over the landscape, a sprawling castle of stone that rises against the horizon. You wouldn't call it cozy, exactly, but there's a certain charm to those drafty halls, like the way a cold shower shocks you awake. Sometimes uncomfortably invigorating, but memorable. Inside, you wander through corridors lined with tapestries, their patterns telling stories through threads instead of memes. You imagine the lords and ladies who strolled here, resplendent in garments that made fashion statements like, "I have more sheep than you," and consider how status declared itself in layers of wool rather than follower counts. Historians still argue whether these cold castles were the brainchild of strategic genius or pure architectural folly. Were the frigid stone corridors a clever ploy to keep uninvited guests, much like an unsent login code when someone borrows your Netflix? Or, perhaps, merely the byproduct of engineering that prioritized defense over comfort? Here's a quirky tidbit for you. Castle occupants sometimes used heated stones to warm their beds. Imagine them huddling around a plethora of hot rocks like medieval bed warmers, chucking aside the notion that inventiveness is after the fact. Your stones were like the original hot water bottles, whispering warmth through the night. It's not quite four-poster luxury, but hey, it worked. The lords and ladies didn't bother with furs and pelts, just for Instagram clout. Those layers served a purpose on nights when you could almost see your breath, making artful clouds in the air. Then again, there's a certain satisfaction to knowing you're one woolen cloak away from stunning your friends at court, or amusing yourself with how your garment age could rival the castles themselves. So there you are, watching the winter sun cast fleeting golden beam across stone floors, worn smooth by countless footsteps. Well, maybe not countless, but imagine being the one trying to tally those up. It's like trying to figure out how many times you've clicked the next episode button, a futile venture marked by sleepy bliss. Okay, so here's the wild part. Those noble-born navigators of the vast stone gallery were experts in the art of politicking. While the peasantry tilled fields as fighters of frost, these folks essentially conducted meetings in corridors chillier than any boardroom. The whole manor might have been buzzing with alliances, betrayals, and strategic marriages, all determined by whose family's tapestry was hung where. Wouldn't you giggle if you found that's how personal grudges paved the medieval halls of power? As it turns out, a medieval manor visit is less about escaping the village life's frost and more about tumbling into a slightly warmer kind of intrigue, wearing layers of wool, tradition, and whispered conversation sewn into each fiber. You still felt the chills, but these were ensconced in expectation rather than sheer survival. So, when you stroll through these hallowed halls, chuckling at the layered luxury that is the sequence of clothes you wore to bear the cold, pause and wonder at the legacy of warmth strategies. What would they, in their grand tapestries of existence, make of us pinning smart thermostats to our walls and calling it a day? They'd probably raise an eyebrow or cloak edge and sweep you into more stories beneath those tumble-down walls. And as you leave this stone keep, the draft follows silently, watching you move toward the familiar hearth glow of home, content. With each step you take, a saga of the medieval chill and its etiquettes unfolds behind you like a trailing cloak, wrapped snugly around the history we all share in a simple fight against the cold. Warmth, it seems, draws even the grandest manor closer to the heart, one medieval footfall at a time. You find yourself wandering down a cobbled path toward the lively buzz of the village marketplace. It's early morning, yet bustling with energy from folks who've clearly had more coffee, or should I say mead, than you. Market day in a medieval village is akin to a primitive social media scroll, a chance to see what's trending, catch up on the gossip, and perhaps, more often than not, find yourself unintentionally buying something you never knew you needed. Imagine being confronted with a stall of woolly socks just as you realize your toes have become popsicles. Talk about serendipitous shopping. Here's a neat fact. These markets were local hubs, often attracting merchants from far-off places. Goods were exchanged, ideas swapped, and pricing haggled over. Haggling was an art form, and possibly the medieval sport equivalent to today's frequent online shopping, minus the quick returns, but full of spirited negotiations. Picture some traders arriving with exotic goods, tantalizing peasants with the idea of cinnamon-spiced pottage or silk that'll sure make you the talk of the manor. Now, historians still chew on the question of how much influence these traveling merchants had on village life. Did they slowly change the tastes and lifestyles by introducing shiny new things? Or did the villagers hold the fort and resist change like a cat refusing to get up off your keyboard, keeping tradition alive as if pushed by the persistent wind of "we've always done it this way"? You'll have to chuckle at the quirkiness of certain items. Sometimes it was about trading a chicken for a pair of new shoes. To be fair, we haven't strayed far from those sensibilities. When you think of those moments where we barter hours of our Netflix queue for the latest must-have gadget we figured would change our life as much as medieval rye did theirs. Finding a quiet corner of the marketplace, you watch a blacksmith forging tools and consider how this would-be influencer is a critical node in the network of medieval commerce. His hammer strikes echo the pulse of local life, sending wafts of hot metal tang into the cold air, pulling you into a moment that feels like it could have been yesterday, were it not for the clanking of armored knights buying nails alongside flaxen-haired dairymaids. Honestly, it's easy to lose yourself here. Your medieval version of going down a YouTube rabbit hole. Each stall is a mini-novel begging you to crack the spine and leap into the story held within. The wool merchants, with their vibrant dyes, are the photographers, painting their world in hues of lake blue or grassy green. Cobblers and butchers, poets of utility, peddling necessities you might procrastinate to actually use, much like your gym membership. The heart of this marketplace isn't just trade, it's about connections. The laughter shared over bread, the curses muttered when the apples run small, the haggling ritual that teeters between civility and he said, she said whisper network. It's a bustling, living reel of history, replaying beneath the weathered sun, reminding us that connections, however formed, keep life buoyant and human even under the weight of icy winds. So, as the sun arcs higher and the crowd disperses, you tuck your own little piece of history close, imagining the stories this marketplace could tell through centuries of echoes and footfalls. How many deals were brokered? How many loves bettered? How many friendships sealed with a swill of ale? More than any one chronicle could capture. All drifting away, sitting quietly with the vast seas of unrecorded tales of twinkling lights and nights shared, known only to those whose feet once stirred this venerable ground. As you meander back from the bustling marketplace, the chill of the late afternoon creeping in, you wrap your cloak a little tighter, pulling it over your shoulders like a cozy blanket fort in childhood. You head towards a familiar gathering spot where the guilds provide both warmth and entertainment, a much-needed diversion from the looming shadows of twilight. The guild hall is filled with the warm, smoky aroma of the hearth, mingling with the scent of ale and laughter. These craftsmen, the OG life hackers, show off their wares and trade secrets, wryly splitting attention between their work and the latest gossip. Picture it as a medieval co-working space where insights on forging, weaving, or baking mingle freely, akin to swapping hot tips on productivity apps or jesting over whose sourdough starter is most grammable. Here's a quirky snippet of life back then. These guilds often had their mini rituals and superstitions. Say, knocking on wood before commencing any craft work. Perhaps an ancestor to crossing fingers before sending that risky text or refreshing your feed, hoping for the right kind of news. Light chuckles ripple through the room. One craftsman regales his tale of a runaway wheelbarrow, causing mayhem at market, reminiscent of a prank video gone viral before, unknowingly perhaps, offering ages-long lessons in comedic timing. Meanwhile, the resident brewer talks of his latest brew, so potent it supposedly encouraged a local baron to dance a jig in woolen hose, for better or worse. With the timeless backdrop of camaraderie, historians still argue over the actual influence of these guilds over local rules and regulations. Did they wield enough power to sway decisions, ensuring their needs dictated village law? Or did they merely adapt to prevailing norms, keeping harmony with local authorities? You lean back in your seat, the chair hard but comforting in its familiarity, a far cry from ergonomic marvels, yet oddly satisfying. The room is lively, a tapestry woven from stories, much like an endless Discord thread humming with lives happening all at once, shared beneath the soft light of the hearth. The evening moves like honey, slowly settling into grooves, where laughter and banter flow lazily. You ponder the ease of it all, a comfort in structure laced with flexibility, much like setting 5 alarms only to feel proud you arose on the 3rd, or maybe the 4th. Anyway, it's the thought that counts, right? As the evening unfolds and turns into night, the guild becomes a cocoon of voices sharing woven dreams and ambitions. You mentally file away some of the clever tips, feeling a bit like you've gathered medieval TikTok hacks to apply to chilly nights back in your own time. Carpentry tips, new stitch patterns, the most effective wood for warm fires, all humanity's enduring favoritism towards minutes of silent crafting under an indifferent sky. Finally, as the warm camaraderie of the guild hall slowly dissolves into the calm night, you step out, leaving behind the echoes of both timeless and fleeting worlds. You walk home with a small mental list, earmarked to try before sleep claims you. A day brimming with conversations, much like saving the best podcast for your late-night routine. Content in the familial chatter that brings peaceful thoughts to tuck under your pillow. Walking through the quiet streets, the brisk air gently nudging you forward, you find yourself wrapped both in cloak and contemplations. As you approach home, the warmth of the fireplace flickering just inside the door feels like a welcoming beacon. Close your eyes, breathe in the cool night air, and let the gentle rhythm carry you forward into serenity. For tomorrow holds fresh tales awaiting stumble and discovery, and you're already delightfully entangled in their cozy embrace. Back home, the warmth of the fire greets you like an old friend, waving the chill out of your bones as you settle in for a quiet evening, unhurried and naturally aligned with the encroaching darkness outside. The shadows dance across the walls, an impromptu show teeming with cozy delight, flickering flames casting playful silhouettes that remind you of trying to decipher meaning from random clouds on a lazy afternoon.